Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. It's 8 p.m. here. And I'm just gonna babble for a little bit because there might be commercials at the start. So we're just gonna wait for those. Let's see who's in the chat. Ariana is here. Hi. Kelly is here. Nice. If you're here, say hi in the chat if you want, or if you don't want that, you can be anonymous. Welcome to another Study in Color session, number 2. Still trying to find my way with this, so hang in there with me. Give me some feedback if you want. I got a bit of a head start by doing the drawing before starting the live stream, because last time I'm just gonna grab this. Last time I ran out of time. Time management is something that I still need to learn. While doing these streams. And that's fine. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing today. But first of all, palette is ultramarine blue, transparent red iron oxide, yellow brown, which is a mixed color from Old Holland, and titanium white. Today, these are all Old Holland colors for no other reason than they are accessible to me. This is a brown painting, as my son pointed out when I was making the thumbnail, and I figured it would be nice to not put any brown on my palette. I have a workshop. It's a pretty old workshop, so would I recommend you buy it? It has a lot of good info. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. And it has a bit of info on how to do brown when you have a primary palette. So this is not a primaries palette, but it's a little bit in the neighborhood. So primary would be, say, ultramarine blue, and then cadmium red or cadmium yellow, right? So blue, red, and yellow. And when you work with those colors, what you end up with is a palette that is very far from any kind of skin tone. Doesn't matter where you're from, what kind of skin tone you have. No one's blue, no one's red, no one's yellow. So that workshop is about basically dumping all your colors into a big pile that makes a brown, and then taking that brown and seeing where you're at, so like this, with a bit of white, and then shifting it, right? So now we have brown. It's quite warm. It's a nice base, by the way. It's nice. But say you wanted this colder, you could add more blue. Say you wanted it redder, which is something that I'm going to do now. You could add more red. And say you wanted more yellow, you can add more yellow. You want it greener, you add yellow and blue. See where I'm going? So that was the point of that workshop. This painting, I'm just gonna check the chat first. Renate is here. That is so nice. Renate's son is visiting. And she just made time to say hi. So hi. Have fun with your son. And Linda is here. Hi, Linda. Kelly says we can call it a koshman. Yeah, that's great. Koosje is asleep. Wow. Oh. Ben je wakker? Oh, sorry. She's awake, no longer asleep. In my studio. Linda, it's good to see you again. I remember, or think I remember, you had some trouble with your back. If I'm mistaken, excuse me, but if I'm right, how's your back? If there's something that you want to share in the chat, whether it's art related or you just want to scream into the void about whatever, please go right ahead. While I try to get some stuff done. And not, oh, sorry, that's my kid. That's my kid leaving. And I'm gonna try to get some things done and at the same time talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So this is a painting. A painting by Suze Robertson. I say Robertson because I'm struggling going back and forth between Dutch pronunciation and English pronunciation. So I'm just gonna stick to Robertson. She is Dutch, so I'm gonna assume that it is pronounced Robertson. Anyways, a Dutch painter that I recently as in a couple of years ago, discovered and had never heard of. Robertson painted mostly at the end of the 19th century. And was I think the first woman actually to basically force her way into a nude painting session. And I would like to share with you how she did that because I love that story. Women back then were not allowed to attend nude drawing or painting sessions because we are weak of mind, apparently, and cannot handle all that nakedness. So she found out that in the rule book of a certain artist club thingy, forgive me if I don't know the words exactly, was stated that all members were allowed to attend the nude drawing or painting sessions. So she applied for membership, and unfortunately for the boys, they forgot they put that in the rules because they did not think that a woman would suddenly knock on their door and be like, by the way, the rules. Suze Robertson did. So she got her membership first and then sat down for one of those sessions and was like, It's in the rules, guys. People got pissed off. Like, apparently, some of the boys wrote an open letter to a newspaper. That was like social media at the time, right? They had no social media. So they would write open letters that were printed in the newspaper about this issue. And she still kept coming. So, awesome story, right? I also want to point out there were also quite a few boys who supported her. I think that needs some mentioning as well. There were definitely some supportive boys. All right, Linda, yes, you're back. Finally doing better, was able to sit up, less meds. That sounds very painful. I'm very sorry. Pain is shit. I love playing with different yellow. Yeah, it's you know, when you think about it, it's a really great palette. It just intimidated me a lot. At first, if you don't know what to do. Male, feminine, yes. Your father is one. My father was one as well. As good as he could be. You know, I did have some beef with my father at some point, but I think I also forgot that the guy was an Arab and came from this tiny mountain village in Nazareth, Palestine. So that may not have contributed to his knowledge of women's rights. So if you consider that, my father was like a high-end male feminist. All right. Lots of meditation, and I read medication, but that's my mind. I was like, ooh, medication. All right, let's put in a little bit of red. I'm trying to block in some really general, ooh, that's very red, general shapes that we can maybe later refine a little bit. All right, let's grab this brush. One day I am going to master the art of managing my brushes. A little bit of yellow. All right, so we have no black, and hi Maria, hi, love the palette. Yes, I love the palette as well. Let's talk a little bit about this portrait. This portrait was of a girl named Pietje. And Pietje was most likely a family member of maybe one of the servants, something like that. She made a lot of versions, and if I don't forget, I will show you when I got some stuff in here, I will show you the different variations. She did a lot of studies of this girl sitting and reading and it was around the time when a lot of other artists, like there was a movement that had artists paint the so-called common everyday scenes and the common people also, right? Before that, if you were rich, you could get your face painted, and that was not an option for other people. And in the late 19th century, I'm not really sure when it started, so forgive me if I'm not completely accurate. People, and amongst them was Vincent van Gogh, but also Breitner, and I think also Joseph Israels did a lot of what they would refer to as common people, common scenes, people of the land, people working the land, but also working in the kitchen, etc., etc. She was fascinated with that, and I think part of that is because it suited her style, which was incredibly direct. Her style was one that was, I'm not sure if I can find the right words, but it was very targeted. So she would lay down what she wanted to lay down and not meddle with that a whole lot. There was no fiddling involved. There was no... That, of course, made some people feel like that was maybe not very feminine. That it was not a style that was suitable for a woman at the time. I remember reading in a book that she got some harsh criticism. That's too much. Some harsh criticism, and she was very upset about that. Funny thing is, I had built up this picture in my mind of her not caring about such things, right? It's often the characteristic that some of us tend to attribute to strong women is that they're also like don't have a lot of emotions or are a little, assholes. Can I say that? I see it a lot on TV, when television is trying to portray strong women. They're almost always not very nice. And this is ridiculous, of course. It's also a very male interpretation of strength, where you're not allowed to show emotion. But she was very upset about that critique and took it to heart. But at the same time, kept on painting. So like I said, this painting has quite a few versions. This is the one that I like the best. I like it because the face is very frontal, right? She's not really reading, but it's almost like she just read something and then was sort of thinking about it, about what she just read. One of the features that I had to get used to, had to kind of learn to appreciate, was this black, almost black outlining of the figure and the face as well, because there is quite a dark shadow going. Now, this may be a little narrow in the face, but I'm trying not to fiddle. This is not something that you want to fiddle with. Like I said, it's very direct painting. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the things that she used in terms of materials. So there was recently let's see, I'm just gonna update myself on the chat. The way strong women are portrayed on TVSQ, yeah, it is. But yeah, maybe it's just one of those phases that we have to go through as society or something. Anyways, I'm just gonna sit this one out because it frustrates me to know, and like it gives me heartburn. Just gonna put that in there. So, Robertson was a successful painter. That means that she had a workspace. It wasn't very big, but she did have a workspace, and she had time to paint a lot and, you know, build a body of work. I saw her work for the first time in, let me quickly check the book, 2023. 2023, there was a big exhibition of her work. They had almost, well, I wouldn't say all of her works, but all of her major works were lent to them in The Hague. In The Hague, there is a museum called Mesdag, and this is a museum that was founded by a couple. And that couple, they were also painters. His name was Hendrik, and he was a nice painter. And her name was Sientje, and she was a better painter. And they were rich, kinda. So they collected her work, and they also let her, I think she stayed there for a while as well. They admired her, and they, I think, also supported her. And so I went to that exhibition with my mom, and there was a quote that said, or something. I think it was something on the wall. It said, is Suze Robertson the female Vincent van Gogh, or is Vincent van Gogh the male Suze Robertson? That was kind of like, okay, that got you thinking, right? I've heard a lot of women being called the male blah, 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 and never once did it occur to me that that is a really weird thing to say, right? I'm not that critical. And you start thinking about it, that is just weird. It is really, it means that you're sort of like a subversion of the original male variety. And I get that it turned out to be like that, but I appreciated them questioning why we say that. I mean, now, are we gonna have like a non-binary version of everything as well, or any of the other sexes that exist? I mean, it needed to be talked about, needed to be confronted. That being said, during that exhibition, there was a lot of information available. And this is also one of the reasons why it's really, really important right now that we acknowledge that we're lacking. I'm just going to go on a rant here for like 3 minutes. That we're lacking in that department. Like, there is work out there from made by women, made by people of color, made by people that we have denied the spotlight. And one of the really bad things about that is that we also, if we don't acknowledge these words, then there is no funding, for instance, to have them chemically examined and to have them restored, expanding their lifespan, right? A painting, no matter how hard you try, is eventually going to break down. The reason why we can still look at works from Rembrandt, like 1600 something, is because we have taken care of these works, and that costs a lot of money. So the Mesdag Museum doing this exhibition was in tandem with a group of people who took her works and put them through all kinds of X-ray type of machines that I have no knowledge of because I'm not a scientist. And that resulted in a lot of insight into the techniques that she used, and very pioneering techniques that I'm going to talk about in 1 minute after I check the chat. I've been watching The Handmaid's Tale. Yikes, yes. I love hearing all about the artist. It means I'm not good. It means you're not good. Tell me what it means that you're not good. I watched The Handmaid's Tale. I'm still not sure if I should have watched The Handmaid's Tale. That was not. I got so angry. So, regarding that research, the technical research, let me finish this sleeve for a sec, and then we can go back to your face a little bit. The thing with this dress looks drab, but it has, I've been staring at it for a couple of days. It has a million different tones of gray and a little bit of warmer tone, which I'm now thinking maybe is the background shining through. That's actually something that she would do a lot. So okay, yeah, I get you now, Linda. Yeah, we're on the same page here. So Robertson experimented a lot with different substrates and different grounds, as in different ways to prepare her substrate. She painted a lot with texture, and this is a textureless painting, but a lot of her works have very raised texture, and that was a thing at the time in terms of paint layer stability. So what she would do is build up these layers of texture in lead white, then let that dry and add sort of a red brownish imprimatura over the top, and then she would paint over that while showing some of the background, having some of that background, that warmer brown, shine through. What do I have? Okay, just need a little bit of focus here. The reason why they would build these textured layers first is because darker pigments tend to dry slower. So say you wanted to have some texture here in the hair, and you would build up layers of black or layers of ultramarine blue. That would just not dry. And the issue with that is that it'll either start wrinkling or just not dry at all. I think there are even blacks that at some point just don't dry anymore at all. So she recognized that problem pretty early on. And would solve that with lead white textured underlayers. Underlayers, that thing. I mean, now we have all these modeling pastes and whatnot available, but back then they didn't even have acrylic, right? So one of the things that she also found out early on, or at least soon enough, was that canvas was not a great substrate for, I have a lot of glare. and I'm only noticing it now. I'm just gonna... There's a bit of delay in the stream, so I have to... Oh yeah, that looks about... That looks about 5 million times better. Yeah. Just do my... Oop. See if I can sit a little bit like this. It's always a bit of a struggle between my angle facing my surface, my work surface, and the light. All right, this looks better. So we were talking about substrate. She found out pretty early on that canvas on stretched canvas can only hold so much weight. So what happens when you put a lot of paint on a canvas, it's going to start dragging it down. That's a very slow process, but it will drag. And what also happens is that because of the movement of the canvas, it might crack. You might crack your paint layers. So she started working on panels. I tell everyone who wants to hear it, if you like texture, please, please paint on panels. Even oil painting golden rules can be stretched a little bit if only you paint on panel. I mean, I wouldn't stretch it too far, but you can get away with a lot as long as your substrate is still and not moving too much. Panels, I love panels so much more. Panels save a lot of space. Yes, see? Panels are it. All right, where are we at? I like how the face is looking. I wanna just, before we get into a lot of stuff, and then at the end of the live stream, I'm like, oh, okay, I did a lot of stuff, but I didn't talk about it. Here we have a couple of, I just randomly mixed a couple of these three together, see where I ended up. And then I thought, okay, I need a little bit of greenish here. So I added some more yellow and blue. Here I added a little bit more red oxide. Transparent red iron oxide is a very, very potent color. It's very powerful. It's an iron oxide, but it doesn't behave like an iron oxide. It's very powerful. So you can get a lot out of a little tube. It has a warm, an orangey red color. I wouldn't even call it red. I would say it's more like an orange. But in this muted environment, it warms everything up. You even need to tone it down in order for it to be useful. So you see the majority of the chroma here in the face, and the warmest part is the bottom of the nose and the lips, which I haven't really defined. One of the most striking things I think of this portrait is the fact that it is a portrait. I mean, it's stacking stuff on top of each other, right? First of all, you have this really common, plain girl. That's the first thing that made people go, okay. Then second of all, women were always put in what you could call favorable positions, like this, right? Making them look better. She is just sitting her down in a chair, facing front-faced. There's no posing. Maybe there was some posing, it's possible, but there is no posing that we can identify, right? And then she did this really nice thing. I would love to see, be able to go back in time and see the looks on some people's faces. She put gold foil behind her head, right? And when I went to the exhibition with my mom, I didn't really okay, it's gold foil, it's, it looks great. It creates a really nice contrast with the rest of the palette. But there was a guy there, and he explained to me, this way of using gold foil kind of indicates an almost Madonna-like appearance. And then I thought, I'm not raised religious, and I'm not religious, so I didn't really grow up with images of iconography, is it called, where all the saints are portrayed with the little circles behind their head. So he explained that to me, and I was like, oh damn. So you got this plain girl in her plain outfit and sitting there very plainly with a book, no jewelry, no hairdo, nothing. And then this big slab. I'm sorry, somebody is knocking on something right above me. This big slab of gold foil that I can't imagine. I mean, it's not cheap now, so it wouldn't have been cheap then. Over her head. And when that kind of clicked, I was like, okay, that's very cool. Let's see. Is there a red oxide and a transparent red oxide? That is a very good question. I'm actually not sure. I know that, hold on. Ooh, get my nose in the camera. So, hold on. I'm just gonna grab. This transparent red iron oxide by Old Holland is a synthetic iron oxide. So we discussed in previous live streams, they can be made in a lab, so you don't have to dig in the dirt. And this is synthetic, which is probably also why it's very potent. And it says PR 101. I have PR 101s pretending to be burnt siennas. I also have this tube of English red. I have no clue what English red is. I do know it's a very, what's it called? Opaque color. And looky here, it's PR101. So I'm guessing these two are in no way the same color. You can tell here this is very reddish and this is more like a brownish red, but they share the same pigment number. So maybe, yeah, if transparent red iron oxide is a synthetic version, is PR101, then you would also have an opaque version with the same pigment number being opaque. This is a very full tube, you can see that, because I don't like this color at all. Where did I leave my brush? Oh, here. Oh, let's see. Your painting is awesome, thank you. I like the idea of giving the comic person a hand. Yes, I do too. Nancy, thank you for coming. Have fun at your hair appointment. So yeah, the PR101 really messed me up for a while. Let's see what I have here. That's dark, okay. When I started painting, I actually had a burnt sienna that was a PR101 or a PR102. I can't even remember. And in my excitement of, you know, being in an art community, I recommended to somebody the PR101 as a burnt sienna, and she was like, "This is not behaving like a burnt sienna." And that's when I realized that, you know, a pigment number does not necessarily mean that it's always the same thing, which is annoying. All right, so I'm not gonna go into the background too much. We have about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I'm gonna take 15 minutes. This background, however, is incredibly fascinating to zoom into. And the reason why is because it has a million colors. One of the reasons I started or wanted to start studying paintings is because what I struggle with sometimes, well, not sometimes, like most of the time, what I struggle with is backgrounds, and the other thing I struggle with a lot is color variation. Being able to lay down colors that automatically intrigue people without, you know, them necessarily thinking, ooh, those colors, ooh, those this. It's what you see with a lot of good painters is that it's often, it has a lot to do with subtle changes. And when I started painting in color, my eye was very untrained, if you will. So that would make me think that works like this are very easy. And also, I have to admit, when I was young, I would look at works like this and think this is not very impressive. I have to say that when I was young, and I still kind of do, I do have a love for the shiny the shiny black backgrounds and the very white faces of people and stuff like that. But as you learn more about painting by doing it, you honestly start appreciating stuff like this. For the very subtle shift of value and the shift of color, and you also start realizing how incredibly difficult that is to accomplish. Last week we did Gwen John's self-portrait, and one of the problems that I ran into was, as it turned out, my reference photo wasn't great, or at least I think it's the problem with looking up these paintings on the internet, so the colors are often not color-proofed. This is a painting I saw in real life, so I can kind of, and also I have the book, and the book, I think the photos in the book are pretty well proofed against the actual artwork. What I struggled with last week was I was really unhappy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I recorded some more footage. I still haven't put it on YouTube because I was like, no, it sucks. And I just want to share that a little bit before I wrap this up and see how the live chat is. But I just wanted to share with you that I started this series with the intention to learn together with you. And after the first episode, I was like, I don't like this learning thing. I'm not really sure why I still struggle with this so much, but every time I fail at something, I want to quit. And there is very little in me that says, oh yeah, okay, well, we learned something, let's, take that with us. And I just find that really difficult. And by saying it, I'm hoping that my brain might start understanding that this is the way it's going to be from now on. I had a violin teacher. I used to play violin. And she was a mean lady. Like, I'm sorry, but she wasn't very nice. But she did say one valuable thing, and that is, if you play something near perfectly, you're not practicing. You are not learning, you are repeating. And there is a space and time for repetition, which is very important, especially when you play an instrument. But learning something new means failing at it. If you're not failing, then you're not learning. I'm pretty sure that quote is also plastered all over Pinterest or whatever, and it sounds great, but in reality, honestly, I was not feeling too great about last week, and I just wanted to put that out there. If you ever have that feeling, so do I. But I'm determined to crack this. Crack my brain. All right. I think I missed a couple of your lives. We'll go back and watch them. Yeah, if you're looking for something specific, let me know. Maybe I remember. Hi, Valerie. Subtle value shifts is a very good analogy for aging. Kelly says, learning is hard. Until very recently, I thought that I was a good learner. Yeah, no, I'm not. As you know, I do this. Yes. Yes, I also thought I was a good learner because I was a good student. But I was a good student because, you know, in school, if you have the right answer, you're a good student. But if you're in school and you fail at everything trying to learn something, you're not a good student. So it's kind of like this relation between the necessity to fail in order to learn wasn't taught to us when we were kids, I suppose. Linda says, I'm definitely learning then. I have many yes, no, for real, that is, seriously, it's not a joke. That's the way to go. It's the way to go. And there are many learning styles. Yes, also something that we need to keep in mind, right? That we went through a school system that was designed for the average of the average of the average. And, you know, we're special. We're that extra. The masters had many... Oh, sorry, Valerie. This is a great YouTube podcast. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm guessing the masters have many fails. Yes, just 3 minutes we have left. But I am reading a book. I went to Leiden, which is the city where Rembrandt was he born there? At least he lived there for a long time. I think he was born there. So I went to a museum, and they sold a book on his earlier years. And I will buy any book in any museum, right? So I took the book home, and it turns out to be such a gem. So what it's really about is about Rembrandt failing his ass off. Like, seriously, there are sketches in there that make you wonder, how did you end up at the level that you ended up? And so how he got there was by producing massive amounts of work. This guy had, according to the research, had very little, had a lot of self-confidence. So he would try something, he would fail, and he would be like, yeah, let me try that again and again and again. And the funny thing is, he would actually try and sell his failed works because he needed money in order to buy more stuff and make more works. So that kind of put things in perspective, because if you've ever been to the Netherlands and you've seen the Night's Watch, that is some impressive stuff, right? Yes, born there, yeah. Born in Leiden. Hey, Ramona. Thanks so much. I always love watching your work. Share your knowledge and insights. Yes, I'm here for it. All right. We have 1 minute. Can we maybe get a little bit of a straighter angle? Hold on. Like that. There we go. I think we got quite a bit done. I'm just gonna let my cat out. Hold on. Ben je naar buiten? Ja, kom maar. So, the basic color shapes for me are the more yellowish background, the redder face, the greenish dress. And when you paint this, or when I paint this, I started realizing, okay, these are the 3 color blocks. And it fascinates me because when I looked at it for the first time, that did not like jump at me. But when you start painting it, you think, okay. So warm, cool, if you will, and sort of complementary. I think it's fascinating that you can, you know, once you start painting this, you start gathering more information about what is going on here. I can paint this background for 3 more days. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's fascinating. I just want to quickly show you. A while ago, I did an acrylic version, and I thought I would try to mix with a cadmium orange hue, an acrylic paint, and I think it was a black, an orange, I think that was it, maybe, like a duotone type of, and you can really see that you lack that variation that you have here with this third color in your palette. So, all right, I'm a little bit more relaxed. I think it was a good session. I hope you got some good info out of it. Had a nice talk, had a nice chat with you. I'm just gonna catch up. Linda says that's because what we see as fails, someone else can still appreciate. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Love your shows, lives. I'm not gonna call it a show yet. I might eventually do this really cool intro like Dylan does. Color blocks, yeah. Only took me an hour of painting before I saw it. I liked your acrylic one too. Yeah, I like it too. I like doing different versions. That was awesome. Good session. Looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. So thank you for joining me. I hope you get to paint a little bit this week, or maybe fail a little bit this week. I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week. Yeah. But again, I have a short list and I can make it a long list. If you have suggestions, let me know. And Suze or Robertson, if you want to know more, there's a link in the description and you can Google that also and get a bunch of info. Thank you. Have a good day, have a good evening, and I will see you next week. All right? Bye-bye. Mwah.